Good morning, lovely people. It's Friday the 3rd of May. It's a little noisy in the neighbourhood. Dog barking, somebody crashing around in the neighbours. Bit of street noise across the way. Oh, and there goes another dog. But it's absolutely glorious morning. Sun is coming up from the east side of the house. Spring is fully in charge. Nights are still cool, but we had a 20-degree day yesterday. We went for a walk in the afternoon and it was hot. My walnut tree seems very slow to leaf out this year. The apricot tree just below it, very sad looking this year. I think there's probably about 10 leaves on it. It might be coming to the end of its life, or it may just be having a bad year. I don't know. Still a little teeny bit of snow on the distant mountain tops. The lilac down there on the right is looking pretty now. Yep, it's going to be a beautiful day. I've just had a nice little jolly with some friends. I drove to my friend's house and we drove further on and visited a quilt shop and a yarn shop. We met another friend there. The yarn shop, unbeknownst to me, was having a special event today. They had wine, which I don't drink, and they had cupcakes with the most amazing frosting, which I also didn't eat because they probably weren't vegan. So that was fine because that saved me ingesting some calories, which I definitely did not need. I was very tempted to get a little bit of yarn at the yarn shop. They had James C. Brett marble, and they had it in the chunky and some of the lovely colorways. And I used to be absolutely nuts about James C. Brett marble back in the day when the kids were small. I went through a phase of not wanting to knit with anything, mostly the DK weight actually. I made some really nice sweaters out of the DK weight. And then I went off it and went on to something else. But in the end, I left there empty-handed, and we went across the street to the quilt shop, which I mentioned in a video a few weeks ago, that has a lot of free spirit fabrics. And it's just so beautiful. They have such wonderful displays in there. You just want to buy everything, of course. And the funny thing was, when I went in there a few weeks ago, they had a 25% off shelf with some free spirit fat quarter packs, which, if you don't know, is Keith Fassett and his team. And I had looked at them at the time thinking, oh, I have a package of fat quarters from another quilt shop from last year that I paid full price for, and wouldn't I just love to have another fat quarter pack in a different colorway at 25% off? And so I picked it up, and I'm thinking, oh, do I want it? Of course I want it. Am I going to buy it? So yeah, I bought it. Oh well, that means I've got 2 packs of Kay Fassett's beautiful designs now. And at some point I'm going to have to come up with a very special project to use them in, because I don't want to use them in just anything. That would just be a waste. So after we went into the quilt shop, we went down the road to the coffee shop, and I had a wrap and a London fog, which were very, very delicious. We had a nice long chat in there. It was so loud though, they have their music far too loud, and then there's the sound of the coffee machine going and all the chat from the people around you. It's deafening, absolutely deafening. And then on the way back to the car, we popped in another couple of shops to have a look around. There's a beautiful clothing shop there. And really, I could probably just fill in an entire closet with what they sell, because it's such lovely stuff. But I'm not going to be spending that amount of money on clothes in any universe, unless I win the lottery. I guess if I won 15 million on the lottery, I'd go down there and I'd just buy half of their stock, right? It would just be lovely. It's been raining so hard today, and we really need the rain. We always need the rain, because this is a very dry area. Our little corner of Canada is more of a desert, really, and that might sound funny, but it really is. And to see the rain and to have it rain so hard, it's quite a treat. I never thought when I left Britain that I'd be happy to see more rain. Well, we've got a bit of everything today, haven't we? A little bit of shopping, a little bit of driving, a little bit of walking in the woods. Now I've got my cup of tea. I stole my son's cup. I said last time I needed a more springy cup, didn't I? But I haven't got around to getting myself one. So I'm borrowing his while he's at work. I have a very lovely matcha latte in my cup. It's made from this mix. It's basically just matcha tea and sugar. And you know what? I could probably make it myself very cheaply compared to buying it ready-made from the tea shop. But I do like supporting them. I do limit myself to one a day. They're very delicious. Oh, I just realised I forgot to put the vanilla syrup in it. Normally I put a teaspoonful of vanilla syrup in as well. I forgot to do that. Still tastes good though. So what have I got else to show you? Well, there's been a little bit of a rough and tumble in my sewing room this week. That's not why we're not in there today. I just felt like I wanted to be up here in the daylight. There's only one other person in the house right now. Middle son is home. If he comes out and wants to start using the Vitamix, I'm going to tell him not to, because I take priority at this point. So yes, I have been getting ready for the market. I've got my first market on Sunday. It's a one-off. It's not the Farmers and Crafters market because that doesn't start till the end of May. This is a one-off market, and I felt like it would be a good one to start with, just to throw me in at the deep end, as it were. So I charged up my square and I charged up my pocket juice so that if the battery on this doesn't last all day, or my battery on my phone doesn't last all day, I've got this. I can plug them in if I need to. They should be fine. I hope so anyway. The sewing room got very much tossed around, as I said. I ended up piling up everything and putting prices on things. And I've sort of grouped things, like a lot of the things I've made are batch sewn. So there's a lot of similar items together. And so I put them into a fabric basket and I clipped a price to the basket. And for the individual things, they have their own label, obviously. I haven't priced things very high. I think I could probably have priced them a little higher, but you know, my aim is to sell them, not to come home with them all. And if I sell so many that I realized I've priced them too low, then I can change the prices for the market later on. I've written all the prices in friction pen, so I can just erase the number and replace it if necessary. I have absolutely no idea what to expect at this market, so it's all just such an unknown. I think Mr. Stitches is planning to come with me in the morning to help me get everything out of the car and taken into the building, so that's good. And as for setting up the table, I have a vague idea of what I'm going to do. I did have a semi-trial run on my sewing table, but my sewing table is only 6 feet long and I get an 8-foot table at this place. I don't have any space either side of it, so I'm not taking a hanging rack, but I am taking the mannequin because I need something to put my Stitches and Slapdashery sign on. And it's got my QR code for my YouTube channel and it says all sales final, because I don't want anyone thinking they can just change their mind about it. Like, if there's nothing wrong with it, I don't want them to just change their mind about it and ask to take it back, because that would be too much hassle, right? Admittedly, if it was to fall apart the first time they used it, then that would be different. But no, if they get it home and they decide they don't like the colour anymore, too bad. Too bad. This is a hobby. And I'm not Walmart. Yep, definitely should have put the vanilla syrup in. So in the process of trying to find enough bags and boxes to pack all my inventory into, I've been hunting around the house and I found a basket by the front door that has had slippers in it for absolutely years. And I haven't been having knit nights in my house for quite a while, mostly because Mr. Stitches got cancer and we've had a very, very quiet life for the last few months, trying to minimize complication. But I found these granny square slippers and I thought you might be interested in seeing them. I'm wearing a pair today because they're really comfy. And it's not that warm in the house. Even though we had a hot day yesterday, mornings are chilly and it's cloudy again. So these are the slippers I'm talking about. They were stash slippers. So this, has 4 colors in. And then I've got some crazy pink ones and some boring brown ones. Oh, that looks like it's got some fraying happening. Oh yeah, that one's damaged. That one has actually worn out on the toe. So it must have got worn at some point. And some blue ones. And then I'm wearing some right now that are similar to these. They were from a pattern by Crochet with Clare, who used to be Bob Wilson 123. And her pattern is in multiple sizes. And I got into quite the kick of making them, as you can tell. So yes, granny squares have been a love of mine for a very long time. Actually, talking of granny squares, we might as well talk about the dishcloths next, because more granny squares. I can find them in this pile of stuff I want to show you. So these, I made 3 of these this week. And I put loops on 2 of them, like a little hanging loop on a corner. Right there. And I forgot on the other one. But the yarn I used for this is a cotton that was hand dyed for me by Catherine of Afternoon Treats, whose YouTube channel is no more. But she was a wool dyer and she used to sell her own hand dyed wool. And I was moderating her Ravelry group for a long time, and I was a patron on Patreon of hers for a while. And when we went over to the UK on a trip in 2019, we went to Yarndale in Yorkshire, and I got to meet her, and she had dyed up this cotton for me. And she said, you know, because she didn't usually dye cotton, it was a whole different method. And obviously you need different dyes for wool than you do for cotton. And so she'd enlisted a friend's help, and she made this beautiful colorway for me. And I've just finished it up now with these 3 dishcloths. And I'll probably save these for gifts because I have a billion dishcloths, as you can probably imagine. I don't think there's any chance of me running out of dishcloths for a very, very long time. It's lovely soft cotton. It's obviously a really nice one. I don't think it's just a regular dishcloth cotton. I think it's a better quality one than that. But I'm not sure, because she didn't give me a label. I don't think she gave me a label when she gave me the yarn. Can't remember. That was 5 years ago now. Wow, 5 years. Time flies. Let's stay on the crochet topic for a minute. I'm finding myself a little squirrelish at the moment. I've got a bit of startitis, that's the thing. And I've been feeling a little nervous, anxious excitement about Sunday. And I thought, I'm going to crochet something new. So I grabbed one of my fun project bags and I stuffed a couple of balls of yarn in it, because you know you can't just grab a ball of yarn and a hook, right? You have to have a bag that'll go with the project. And I pulled out this from the stash. Now, a lovely lady, supporter of the channel, bought me this, sent me this a few months ago. It's Ice Yarns Picasso, and there's no colorway name or number on it, but I'm assuming, having looked on Ravelry, that it's the rainbow colorway. I wonder what gives me that idea. It is polyester acrylic. It's a worsted weight yarn, 50-gram balls, and I can't remember how many I have, maybe 8 of them. And I went on Ravelry and I took a look, because what's brilliant about the yarn page is you can look up the yarn and then you can click on the projects tab to see what other people have made. Now, it does look really nice knitted up, but I was in the mood for some crochet. And so I had in mind to make a pussy hat. I don't think I've ever made a pussy hat before. Now, if you're wondering what a pussy hat is, maybe you've been living under a rock for the last 8 years, I'm not sure. Sorry, that was mean. But a pussy hat, it was originally invented back in 2017. I had to look it up, pussyhatproject.com. 2017, it was invented by a woman who was going to a Women's Day march. And because it was around the time that a certain president, who shall not be named, was grabbing women's you-know-whats, she called it the pussy hat. And so it's basically a really, really, really easy hat to make. The most easy way is just to crochet or knit 2 squares or rectangles, sew them together into the square shape. And because it's square, when you pull it down on your head, the points of the square just sort of stick out and look a bit like a cat's ears. And usually it's made in pink. Not mine. Mine's rainbow. Now, I did the world's teeny tiniest gauge swatch for this, which, shall we say, was useless. The gauge swatch I made for this was maybe 2 mini rows of double crochet, and it was inaccurate. So if ever you're wondering about gauge swatches, yes, they need to be a decent size, because your tension changes as you crochet and get away from the chain, the foundation chain. So I started with the biggest size. There's 3 sizes, and I started with the biggest one, which was 70 stitches around, 70 double crochets, or treble crochets if you're in the UK. And after a few rounds, I sort of put it over my head, and while the chain is a little bit snug, this part was a little bit loose, and this is actually the top of the hat. I'm working down towards the brim. And I thought, I don't want it too loose. There's nothing worse than a hat that wants to fall off your head. So I did put a couple of decreases on the side edges. Over at this end, near the beginning of the round, I did a decrease there and there-ish, and the same on this side, 2 decreases over there. And I think it's okay now. So I'm down to 66 stitches, and my plan, after I've done the body of the hat with the 5.5mm hook, my plan is to go to a 4.5mm hook. What have I done with it? It's gone. Okay, that was hilarious. I lost my hook. So yeah, started with a 5.5mm hook, and I'm going to go down to 4.5mm for the brim. It's done with front post, back post, doubles or half doubles. I'll have to check the pattern just to cinch it in a bit and look neat on the end. So I think that will probably just snug it up around my head. Now, as to the yarn, at first I wasn't sure about it. In the ball, I wasn't sure about it. It's really fuzzy too. It's got quite the halo and quite the sheen. Having seen some of the projects on Ravelry, I was warming to it. And now that I have seen it crocheted up, I don't know, I hope you can appreciate the colours in it. I'm loving the colours in it. And I'm looking forward to having a crazy rainbow hat. One thing I would say is, don't do anything that requires frogging. My aforementioned tiny swatch, I did pull it out so that I could then start on the actual project. And because of all the fuzzy, yeah, doesn't want to frog, does it? It was a bit of tugging to get it started. Also, don't get it near Velcro. I had my laptop on earlier and it was plugged in. Actually, my phone was plugged into one side of it because I was uploading stuff off my phone, and the charger was on the other side. And one of the cords had one of those little cord wrap Velcro thingies. And the yarn, as it was coming from the ball, caught that. Not good. Not good at all. I don't know if I can find where the fuzzy bit is. It luckily ended up on the inside. Can't see it now. But yeah, Velcro and yarn, as we all know, do not go together. Super easy project. I only started that yesterday. Should be finished today. And I think I'll probably have to go to a second ball, but at the moment I'm still working on the first one. So that I don't lose my hook again, let's stuff it in the bag. How radical is that? Actually putting it in the project bag. Now that Mr. Stitches is out of the house, I can show you the fabric I bought at the quilt shop close up. There's nobody about. I did not actually confess to this purchase when I got home. I know that's bad. So here we go. Free Spirit Fabrics. It's a fat quarter bundle. It says August 2022 fat quarter bundle. Now, I don't know if August is just when the quilt shop got the bundle in. I'm thinking maybe. Yeah, and then it says K Facet Collective, 20 fat quarters, cool. So it's a different colour range from the first bundle I bought last year at the place in Salmon Arm. Very, very beautiful. Let's have a quick look at some of the fabrics in here. Oh, gorgeous. More gorgeous. Now, one day, I'm going to have to come up with a perfect project for my Kaffe fabrics because they, like my batiks, are just so special. Look at the colours in that. Oh, gorgeous. I have been a fan of Kaffe Fassett for so long. You know, he started out, I think, with embroidery and then he got into knitting and then he got into quilting. And he's always been nuts about colour. You can't see. Oh, this is hard. Okay. Oh. So yes, that's going to be tucked away with the other one in my sewing room until the absolute right, perfect project comes along, whenever that might be. You know, when you get to a certain age, it gets to the point where you think, well, when I buy stuff right now, I'm kind of stashing for retirement. I mean, I know I'm between jobs right now, but I'm not retired yet. My husband's not retired yet. And obviously, when that does happen, our income will drop considerably. And so any stash is going to be all the more precious for being there to sew or knit from or crochet from. You have to do that sort of thing. You have to plan ahead. Not to the point where you're, you know, hoarding so much that your stuff's spilling out the doors and windows or anything. But it's good to have a little bit to work on. It does pay back. It doesn't go off. You don't need to refrigerate it. You have enough fabric, it can even keep your house warmer. Oh, Nicola, you're so funny. Not. So I did complete a couple of projects this week. There was one that was pretty dull and boring. I'm in this dull woman's group on Facebook. Have you seen that one? It's just called the Dull Women's Club. And anyone can join, even men can join, but it's mostly women because the men do have their own group. And I'm also a member of the Denim Upcyclers group. And so I posted a picture of this next project to both of them because it's denim and it's not very exciting. It's a turtle mop. Ooh, got bits on it. It's a turtle mop. So have you ever heard of a turtle mop before? This sort of thing, I only discovered that these things even existed very recently. And when I saw them and I saw people in the denim group making them, I'm like, why would I bother with one of those? And people are saying, yeah, it's a great way to cut down the disposable things you're using, because if you use paper towels to mop up spills on the floor or whatever, you know, it's waste. Well, I haven't used paper towels in at least 15 years. I've been using cloth napkins and cloth dishcloths and everything to wipe up my messes for a very long time. But I have a lot of denim right now. And I also have a lot of toweling right now. So neither of these fabrics cost me anything. The denim is a very thin one that came off a bag that somebody had sewn. And it came to me in a box of stuff from somebody I know who is clearing stuff out. It's very thin, but that was okay. I backed it with 2 layers of this white toweling. And I loosely based it on the YouTube I had watched. Hang on a minute, let me just check her name. She is called Single Girls DIY. And when you go to YouTube, you do a search and you look for turtle mop. There's only a couple of choices. Single Girls DIY is the first one to come up. And so she does sell a pattern for $3. And I thought, I don't need a pattern for that. I can freehand the legs and the head and the tail. And that's what I did. I just drew them out. In fact, I used the exact same piece for the head and legs. I just put the head a little bit further in when I sewed it and left the legs a bit longer. And then the fabric, I just sort of cut it. I folded the fabric, I think, and then cut it so that it was at least fairly symmetrical. And then when I had put everything together and flipped it through and top stitched it, I added a little bit of extra stitching to look a little bit like a turtle shell. So if you're still confused and you still have no idea what this is for, you toss it on your kitchen floor. You can make it with a loop on to hang it up if you want, but I didn't. With hindsight, I wish I had, because I do have some little hooks in the kitchen I could have hung it up on. But if you have a spill, you just toss it on the spill and you use your foot to sweep it up or mop it up. And I thought it was a fun idea. Haven't used it yet. I've been saving it to show you before I used it, so it's still clean. And then after you've used it, obviously, get it dirty, you throw it in the laundry, and then you use it again and again. So that's sewing project number 1. The other one is going to be a bit of a longer story. This bag was a bit of a nightmare. I don't know if you remember back, if you were watching, back in, was it in the summer or was it sometime last year, I think. I dyed some denim. I had a couple of denim legs that were pretty stained and also had some partial bottles of RIT dye. And I used the coral and the indigo RIT dye just to dye some legs and see if it made them look more nice and usable. And the coral turned out brilliant. I did not pre-bleach this. Someone online asked me if I had pre-bleached the denim, and I was like, no, I didn't. I just over-dyed it because I wanted that tonal look. And it's not an even look, but that's what I wanted. Decided I wanted a bag made out of this stuff. Found this YouTube tutorial by Mama Project, and it looked easy enough because they always make them look easy, right? And it should have been easy. I reckon I should have been able to make this in an afternoon. Instead, it took me 2 afternoons and then another little struggle session on the 3rd day. I wasn't impressed. Not her fault. My fault. So the finished bag looks great from a distance. Looks great from a distance. Yes, that's the crux of the matter. So the first part you do, obviously you construct this first part. Well, the first part you do is cut everything out. And because I didn't really think ahead, and I was making this on the fly, I didn't really know what fabrics I was going to put together with it. But I had this pretty fabric, which has some orange and pink in it. And so I ended up using that for the recessed zipper and the front panel. That's great. And then this fabric here, which is also orangey pink, I used for this pocket, but it wasn't big enough for the whole piece because this pocket goes all the way down to the bottom of the bag and all the width of it, so it's big. So I pieced it, which would have been fine, but if you look closely where I pieced it, I don't know if you can tell. I don't know if I can I'll turn this inside out. But where I pieced the fabric, I realized that this part was faded. This side's way brighter. And it wasn't until I sewed the 2 pieces together Then I realized that. And so I thought, okay, never mind. I'll put it in so that when you open the zipper, this is the side you'll see most, right? So I'll put the brighter side on that side. So that was sort of a save. Finished this whole front section. I had the zipper sewn in. I had tabs on the zipper. It was joined up and everything. I think one side was top stitched. And I realized, forgot the zipper pull, didn't I? Did I kick myself or what? And the funny thing is that on Facebook, one of the groups, I can't remember which it is, there's like this little ongoing thing where someone says, I joined the club, and they have a zipper where they put the tabs on and forgot to put the puller on. I'm in that club now. So that was one of the issues. I had to unpick all of the end of here. I had to unpick the seams, the top stitching, take the tabs off, put the puller on, re-sew it all. So it's always harder to mend something or fix something than it is to do it from scratch. So I managed to fix it, and then I carried on, and then I looked at it and I was like, oh, the only number 5 zipper I had was the rainbow zipper, and I'm looking at it thinking, I don't know if I like the rainbow zipper with this combination, because whilst it's got pink and orange and yellow on it, the blue and green, I didn't feel like it really went. And I'm thinking probably just a silver zipper would have looked better, but I don't have that. So I finished the whole exterior of the bag, and I put it aside overnight, slept on it. I took a picture of it and sent it to my friend, and she agreed with me it didn't look right. And she was willing to trade me some zipper. I could have given her some of my rainbow zipper. She'd have given me some solid silver with a beige or a black background in return. And then in the morning, I looked at it and I thought, I don't think I can face unpicking the whole exterior of the bag. It would take me so long. So I didn't. I left it. So the recessed zipper sort of went all right. It's not brilliant, but you can't tell because it's all hidden inside. The lining, I wanted to have the pocket match the lining. I originally cut this pocket piece for this pocket. It's 2 inches smaller. And then I thought, wait a second, I don't want to use the other fabric on top of this. I want to use this fabric on top of this. But it wasn't now big enough because I'd already cut it. So I tacked a little bit extra on. So right down at the bottom of this pocket, there's a seam, but not an issue. It's fine. So the inside of the bag's okay. Now the main struggle comes in the top of the bag, because when I put my exterior and lining right sides together and wanted to sew around the top, that's when I started having the big problems, because all of this stuff, right, it's very close to the top of the bag, and it did tend to get in the way. And where my D-rings are in here, this webbing is really thick. I think it's like industrial strength webbing. And so the machine didn't particularly like going through 2 layers of webbing, plus the denim and the cotton. But the main problem was that this was getting pulled down on this side by the fact that all of this palaver was just below it. Anyway, sorted that out, turned it right side out, sorted out my strap. And actually, I had a pleasant surprise, because I was thinking there was going to be swivel hooks and I was going to have to use swivel hooks, but of course I didn't. I just used rectangle rings. So that saved me some metal. But the top stitching, oh man, the top stitching. Now, if ever anything has to go right on a bag, it has to be the top stitching, right? That's the bit that everybody sees. You can fudge a lot, you can get away with a lot, but if the top stitching looks like crap, it's going to be obvious. So I top stitched it and it looked like crap because, well, partly because maybe I thought it was because I had a 70 needle in there, which was maybe not thick enough, but also going around these corners here, I was getting a pucker here on the inside, and skip stitches over all this bulk on the ends. And I slept on it again. Honestly, the air turned blue a number of times with this bag. So the next day, this is day 3 now, I picked out the top stitching and I did it again, and it still looked like crap. And I used a 90 needle that time, but it was still struggling to get over the humps. Plus, it didn't help. There was a seam back here from the jeans. So I had a hump here, big hump here, big hump here. And I went over it a second time, but you can still see that there's these long leggy stitches on the side. I don't know if you can see that. I used a fairly good thread for matching, but yeah, you can probably see that. It's horrible. And, you know, my non-sewing friend and my non-sewing husband both said, oh, you should still sell it, you know, somebody will love it. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't think so. So I think what this is going to be is this is going to be my market bag. I will wear this across my body on Sunday. I will have the front pocket for my cash and my square and my phone and all that sort of thing. And yeah, people can admire it from afar, but not close enough to see the top stitching. Oh, it's so disappointing, though. I mean, it's so... Oh, I can't believe that I've made so many bags now and I'm still having issues, but I know it happens to us all. I've still got a leg and a bit of this coral-coloured denim, so I'm going to be making something different out of the rest of it. Probably my own design, where I can figure out how to make stuff without having problems. This recessed zipper, I mean, I love the idea of having a recessed zipper that was all enclosed, but I think next time I try one, I'll use one of those ones that has just the straight tabs either side of the zipper and then leaves a gap here and a gap at the other end, and then the zipper comes out and has a little tab on the end on one side. And maybe use something a bit thinner to hold my rectangle rings into the bag. Maybe an interfaced quilt cotton or something. Because that was a struggle. So did I say what pattern this was that I'm wearing today? Just in case you needed to know. It's the DoraDoes Any Yarn Will Do cardigan, and I used Wendy Husky, which is now discontinued apparently, but it's a super bulky yarn. Took me 4 days to make that. I think I had pains in my wrist after that, but it was worth it. And if you're wondering about the one I was wearing in the car as well, you can only really see the top of it, but it's a purple Batwing sweater with a lot of contrast stripes in it. And that also was a DoraDoes pattern. It was called the Stash to Treasure Batwing sweater. And I haven't worn that very often. I wore it over my pajamas this morning when I got out of bed, but I haven't worn it out of the house much. And that day I was needing something, an extra layer. It was, well, if you've watched the footage from before, you'll have seen the pouring rain we had that day. We got pretty wet walking up the street to the coffee shop after that. But didn't think to take a raincoat, did I? I could have done that too. All right, stop waffling, Nicola, and show them something else. Okay, I will. So the last thing I think I have to show you is my dodgy bag swap gift. Let me just check. We've talked about that and that and that. And that. Okay. My dodgy bag make-along swap partner lives in Alberta. When I signed up for the swap, I said I was sent somewhere in Canada because I didn't want to do international shipping. And I was matched up with this person in Alberta. So I had sent her the bag. I showed it to you in a previous vlog. Not sure which vlog that was, but it was pretty recent. And after a little while after I had sent mine to her, I received the one from her. Now, I think the only guideline there was for this swap was that it was to send a bag. And obviously, you can, if you want to add anything else in, you can do that. I added in some tea and some chocolate to hers, and I noticed there's been a couple of people posting their parcels on the Dodgy Bag Mal thread in Ravelry on Little Drops of Wonderful's Ravelry group. And somebody else got yarn with their bag and that sort of thing. So this is the bag I received. Very roomy bag. That's going to hold a lot. Fun print with birds and flowers on it. Some blue fabric at the base. And the yellow fabric, this tickles me because I have made very hungry caterpillar things in the past. But if you look carefully, the yellow fabric is very hungry caterpillar. I made some things for my sister's step granddaughter. Blended families can get confusing, can't they? 7 years ago, I made a very hungry caterpillar blanket and cocoon and hat. And if you ever want to go and see my projects, you can look at them on Ravelry because I put everything on Ravelry. And that would have been 2017. Yeah, I guess so. Wow. 2017. So I also received a little lavender sachet. Not a tea bag, a lavender sachet. Make it smell nice. A cute little toadstool charm, which I should attach to something, shouldn't I? I'll have to think about what I can put that on. Some plant stickers. Hard to see. Plant stickers. Very pretty card. And some very pretty buttons. Ceramic ones, so butterfly buttons and flower buttons. So I'm very happy about that parcel. I don't know if my swap partner is watching, but if you are, thank you very much. In the past, I have joined a few swaps and I have been exceedingly disappointed by them. I remember one where I think it was a yarn swap and I got this ball of brown cotton yarn that looked like it had been used and rewound into a very tight ball. It wasn't even new. I was like, oh, they didn't make an effort, did they? And then there was another one, I think it was a Christmas one, where we were told to put certain things in the parcel. And there was supposed to be something edible in there, some sort of treat, chocolate, candy, whatever. And the note I got with the parcel was, sorry, there aren't any chocolates in your parcel. I ate them before I sent the parcel. And I was like, seriously? Seriously? Honestly? People. So, yeah, I'm glad to say this swap worked out lovely. Lovely, it did. And the swap is finished, I guess, now. But the make-along is still going through till 5th of June. I haven't posted any of my pictures to Instagram. I completely forgot. I haven't really been posting to Instagram lately. I just sort of let it slide. I've just been posting everything in the Ravelry group. And that's fine. There's some lovely people in there. It's nice to chat and show each other our bags. That's been really enjoyable. And there was another tutorial this week. That's one other thing I did do this week. There was a new tutorial for the little round zipper pouches. I had posted a picture of those into the Ravelry group and somebody said, ooh, are you doing a tutorial for those? I hope. And I said, well, I could.
So that's done. And it's amazing. It's such a tiny project, and you think, oh yeah, it probably only takes 15 minutes to make one of those. No. I think there was like at least an hour of footage that I had to edit down for that. It always takes longer than you think. Which is why I know I have desperately underpriced my products, because I have not allowed for the amount of time that's gone into them. Even the one-off bags that took hours to design and make and everything else, I still haven't put the right price on those, but the idea is to de-stash my sewing room, makes the money doing it, so I can buy more fabric. Oops, did I say that out loud? Okay, oh, and one thing I did think about earlier is I haven't given you any Mr. Stitches news for a really long time. So, Mr. Stitches has been doing pretty well. They do tell you that once you finish radiation, that for 3 months after, the radiation is still kind of doing its job, even though you're not actively sitting there being zapped, and that you're likely to get things happening. So there have been a couple of times when his energy's been really low, or his throat's been feeling really sore. And he kind of sounds very gravelly sometimes, and other times he sounds fine. And sometimes his face looks a little swollen in the mornings. And we probably should raise the head of our bed a bit, and we still haven't done that, so that the lymph can drain. He's gone for another acupuncture today, which is good, seems to be helping. And we've done lots of walks, and he's being really careful about sunscreen, because obviously if you get direct sunshine where they've been radiating you, I'm sure that's not healthy. You could probably burn quite badly, I would think. So he has actually been told that in a couple of weeks' time, the insurance people told him they expect him to start going back to work. It'll only be very, very part-time to start with, because they want to graduate you in really slowly. So he'll probably start with 4 hours, 3 times a week to start, and then sort of build up to a full working week over the course of a few weeks. I should imagine he's going to find it quite stressful to start with, probably because there's going to be a lot of talking. There's going to be a heck of a lot of talking, because he's going to have to talk to the staff. There's been quite a bit of a changeover of staff while he's been off. And there's also been a new person in to manage the company, because Mr. Stitches is due to retire at the end of next year. And the plan is that he needed someone to hand the job to anyway. But obviously him getting cancer fast-tracked that a bit. Anyway, I'm really rambling, aren't I? Whoa, I'm really rambling. If you made it this far, well done. I hope you enjoyed seeing my adventures this week, and my new fabric, and my yarn projects, and projects plural. And I hope that you liked what you saw enough to, do the usual. And if you do like my videos, please do subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. It just means you get a thing come up on your YouTube homepage when I post a new video. I'm not on a regular schedule. Sometimes I'll vlog every week, or every 2 weeks, or every 10 days, and I'll throw the occasional tutorial out there. So if you want to see what's going on, subscribe to get the notifications, and then you won't miss a video. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.